Welcome to the High Heels Happy Hour podcast.
Welcome.
So, yes, we were kind of taking a look. Even though I'm the one that pushed the record button, we still got like, oh, shoot, I forgot something. Anyway, so today we have another returning guest. More about that later. And yes, one of our 2 male guests ever. So, very exciting.
It is. Yeah. So, how was your week?
My week was great. I keep thinking what I was doing, but no, it was
Must have been really good.
It was good. It was tennis this week, so that was fun, for Bella. But otherwise, we had visitors in from Sweden. So when you have people staying in your house and visiting, time just kind of flies by. So it did, but
for me, it goes by really slow.
Oh yeah, no. And I increased so I told you last week, right, that I hired a health coach, fitness and nutrition coach. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been doing 5 days of weightlifting, which is takes a little time.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. I've been doing machines I have not done before that I just pass by in the gym. And I'm like, oh, I'm using this one. Okay. So it's been fun.
Okay.
Yeah. How was your week?
It was great. Busy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
Except for that you found out that your son is allergic to all nuts and everything.
Yes, it was busy. We ended up in the emergency room. Sebastian was allergic to cashews. And he said the nurses were really cute. So I was like,
well, he's the latest man.
That's cute. Yeah. That was awesome. So now we have an EpiPen at the house.
Oh, he probably needs to bring it with him at all times.
He does, and I forgot to give it to him.
Oh.
So hopefully, I said, just don't eat anything. That'd be great.
Okay. So you might not get that Mother of the Year award.
No, that's okay.
Yes.
And then we're getting ready for the Blue Angels.
Oh, that's right. Blue Angels are flying into Vero. That is so cool. The air show. I love when they come in. I mean, I'm sure there's very cool but the Blue Angels are just out of this world.
Yeah. And I finally had my graduation with Chance. It was so cute. So finally graduated. That's about it.
Okay.
So time for our hacks.
Okay, hacks. So believe it or not, I'm going to do food hack.
No.
Yes. Because I've been doing a lot of food stuff lately. Because I am. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I am having this idea that I'm building about a membership. We'll talk more about that next time. But so I'm thinking about a lot of food things I'm doing and what's easy to kind of teach others. I started doing my own mayo. It's really if everyone knew how easy that was. Why do I make my own mayo? Because mayos that you buy in the store contain a lot of crap. I've never really liked mayo, but my daughter does. So I started reading the labels. There's a lot of seed oils, a lot of crap. So I'm like, I wonder how you make this yourself. So easy. Immersion blender, one of those sticks with a little blade at the egg, oil, vinegar, salt in a mason jar. 2 seconds. Done. Yes. If you not watching this on YouTube, you did not get the full description with but it's so easy. And it's actually not bad. I can eat that one. I don't like the store.
I like mayo.
Okay, so you should definitely make your own. Then you can decide what oil you want. So I did a little olive oil and a little avocado oil.
Huh.
Yes, okay. Just saying.
All right. So my hack is also food.
Ooh, yes.
And I've learned how to make ice cream, like dipping dots out of Greek yogurt, honey, and strawberries, and I dip them in dark chocolate. It's like ice cream. It is so good. And the children have yet to find out that it's really not ice cream.
Oh, they never need to find that out.
Yeah, so those are good. But that's it.
I've also heard about a Ninja Creamy where you could turn anything into ice cream. I'll do some more research. More to follow.
I've seen that.
Yes. All right. So to today's subject that I know absolutely nothing about.
Surprising.
Surprise, surprise. And I decided I didn't want to learn. I wanted to fly blind. I should say I know you've done it, so I have that little
Who?
intel. You
I
haven't
have.
you? Haven't you done it?
I have.
Yes, you have. So, but that's all I know. But in order, it's something. Yeah, something that's on the rise, I guess.
We'll see. I think it's been around for a long time. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll find out. So, without further ado,
Yes.
because he is returning. So if you're not sure, if you want to know a little bit about him, there's another episode that he did with us with ketamine. So this is a little bit more, I don't know, just a little more. So let's welcome Adrian Marquez. Dun, 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 dun.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, you were the co-host when I was out of town. So
That's right. I couldn't do justice trying to replace you, but I was honored to be, be able to fill your spot for a little while.
Well, I will say that episode was very well watched and listened
Awesome.
to, downloaded. So you did an okay job, I think.
Thanks. Appreciate that. I'm glad I got a chance to be here with you too, because I've heard my intel is that, like, you and therapy kind of have sometimes. I'm interested to, like, ask you a bunch of questions on how that makes you feel as we're talking today.
Okay, great. No, I think me and therapy we have no relationship because I've never experienced it.
Okay.
I have no, I don't, I mean, I don't have any negative connotation to it. I think it's a great idea. I've never experienced. And I will say too, my culture, not just the Scandinavian culture, but how I grew up, it was not something that people do.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a session sometime in the future where I could just, like, we'll just do a therapy session. We'll just record that. We'll just see how that works.
That could be very interesting. We might need to cut some parts out.
Do the editing.
Ingrid will do the editing. Yes. All right. So what is today's subject, Ingrid?
So
I can barely pronounce it, just saying.
So now I'm like, oh, yeah. So our subject is ayahuasca. And I think I'm saying it right? Correct?
You are. Yeah, correct.
Ayahuasca. And we're going to talk about what it is, what it does, who's it for, who can it benefit,
yeah,
and what's it made out of.
Sure, yeah. All good place to talk about.
So, and whatever questions you may have.
Well, let's start. What the heck is it?
Okay,
that's great. It's a great place to start. So ayahuasca is a sacrament that's been used for thousands and thousands of years by these indigenous tribes. That's really just a simple compound made out of, like, these natural things boiled down into a reduction. So you have the viridis leaf and you have the capi vine, which is boiled into a reduction, and people do it in different ways. Some people do it for hours and hours. Some people put some vinegar in there to try to make it boil down a little bit faster. I would say that there's probably a little difference in the compound at the end, depending on the different ways that they make it. But what you come down with is this very psychoactive property, this sacrament that these indigenous tribes have used for thousands of years in their practice of their spirituality. And we've now recognized that they have very, very significant medicinal purposes. So as we look at those two different compounds, the indigenous people recognize that the capi vine had, psychoactive properties because they claim the myth is that they used to watch the jaguars walk through the jungle, chew on these vines, and then trip and, stumble away as they would walk away from these vines. We've recognized now that the capi vine, when it gets boiled down, it releases 3 different alkaloids: harmine, tetrahydroharmine, and harmaline. Now, these different alkaloids have their own psychoactive properties, but they're also known as myoinhibitors. And then from the viridis vine is where you get the leaf. That's where you get the DMT. So your body creates DMT all the time, but normally within the brain, you have these myos. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What is DMT?
That's the abbreviation for this compound. I'm going to mess it up if I try to say it right now. It's going to come up. But DMT is this compound that's inside of your body. And we see it, like, for example, when you die, your body releases, like, this flood of DMT. So DMT is something that's in your body quite frequently, but within your brain, you have myoinhibitors that gobble it up before it gets to the neurotransmitters. Those alkaloids that I mentioned that come from the vine work as myoinhibitors that block those myos and allow the DMT to bind to those neuroreceptors, which is what creates this long-lasting psychoactive process.
Okay. So, I mean, if you compare to the subject last time, ketamine, what is the difference there? Do they do similar things, or?
So we're both talking about two psychoactive medicines, right? Ketamine is different. Ketamine is a pharmaceutical. It's created. It's not from natural ingredients like ayahuasca is. Ketamine is a compound that was originally created as an anesthetic with analgesic properties for surgeries, and they just recognize that it creates a psychoactive process inside of there as well too. With ketamine therapy, like I mentioned in the last podcast about ketamine therapy, I consider that like the special operations rate of psychotherapy or that type of modality. It's like get in, get on, get off, get out, good night. And within about an hour later, you're coming back together again. Like an hour after that, we could be sitting down and debriefing. With ayahuasca, this is like the big old battle. Like this is like the Battle of Fallujah, I guess if you will. Like it's like I'm going to take all of your resources. It's going to take the entire weekend. You're going to gain a lot of ground, but you're going to be exhausted by the end of this thing as well too. So it's a lot more. While ketamine is an anesthetic with those analgesic properties, it can let your body go to rest while your mind gets really like hyper conscious. In ayahuasca, your body is a huge player in this game as well too. You'll have these purges, you'll have these different sensations inside of your body, all of these neuroreceptors, all these bundles of sensory data, especially in the skin and the meat suit, like as well as in the mind, are going to be all a part of the situation, a part of the experience as your mind tries to decode, tries to understand. You're going to enter into it for usually at least 4 to 6 hours per journey, with a longer after effect time as well too.
So obviously it needs to be done during very controlled environments.
Yes.
It should be.
Yes.
Yes, setting is a huge important spot in there. I mean, for all these medicines, from psilocybin to ketamine to ayahuasca, like a lot of times when people experience what they would call a bad journey or a bad trip, one of the biggest factors in that is that they didn't do it in a place where they were able to just feel complete comfort. They weren't in the right set and they weren't in the right setting. So a lot of places where you do ayahuasca, you're going to have a facility, a group, a church type of a setup where they're going to have volunteers and people like clinical support, medical support, volunteer staff that's there to just create the environment for you. Anything that you need while you're going through this process. I mean, you're going to be under this medicine. Every time somebody takes this medicine, I say, you got to give your mind permission. Like I say, your mental ship is going to take off from the port for about 4 hours. And you have to just give it permission. Nothing's supposed to make sense. Things could be a little bit crazy. Let it go a little bit crazy. Your ship will return to port. But in that time, if you need something from assistance walking to the bathroom to like you need a glass of water, like let this team help you so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about somebody coming to the door. You don't have to worry about like, an unexpected visitor showing up at your house or something unexpected happening at that time. Have a very healthy setting set up for you.
Right. Huh.
And that was interesting to me because someone that has, I like to have a little control, but knowing.
Yes, you do.
But understanding that was really great. And the space was just amazing. But being able to just let go and know that you're safe and allowing your mind to just do what it needs to do. Mm-hmm. And it's really amazing what it does. And some people were there, and you can go over the space we were at that had really pretty journeys. Really like the clouds were purple and there was like a unicorn and there was the horizon was like pink and glitter. And I was like, that was not mine. But I told you, at one point I felt like just the grass. It was just so pretty. Like it's almost like I sometimes wish we can actually have ayahuasca every day because the sense of just being there. Sometimes we talk about mindfulness, like to really enjoy the, like, let's say the tree or the grass and just being able to be in that moment of you do matter and you are a part of this like universe. And I think I know when you're in that space, it just like everything is like a times 1,000. Like you realize that
sensory.
Yes, like it's just so, like you realize so much. I mean, I don't know if you can explain on or elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned before, people's journeys being different than your journey. Like everyone's journey will be very different. I mean, a lot of it's going to be based on what your mind needs to sort up, what it's going to use in that space to try to attend to, where the person's coming from, their temperament, their mood, the setting that they're in. You can't expect, and even within the individual, you can't expect your next journey to be anything. You can't expect it to be like your last journey. Like things can always be very, very different inside of that space. You have like when we have those 3 alkaloids that I mentioned, right? Like they also allow your brain to help maintain, a higher amount of serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, like while you're underneath the space, but like what they call the hug hormones, right? So your mind holds on to that. But Ingrid, also to your point that you mentioned earlier, when a lot of people hear about these medicines and they talk about it, like this isn't like ayahuasca is not like a party club type of a medicine, right? It's like if somebody said, "Hey, I'm getting the boat this weekend. I figured we'd all go out on the water, take a little ayahuasca." Like that would be a horrible time. Like that would not be fun because there is an intense physiological process. There's a lot of intense feelings, physiological feelings. Like I mentioned the purge before. A lot of people experience some formation of a purge as well too. It's definitely a space where you need to have the ability to let yourself be. And to experience what you need to experience. Some people won't purge, some people have more of a blissful space, but a lot of people will have an intense discomfort. It's very similar when we talk about ayahuasca, like a lot of people, especially here in the US, will like recognize how peyote works, for example. Like it's a medicine that's ingested that there's usually a purge, like a vomit at some point in time. And then after that purge is when a lot of people get what they call those golden nuggets, like those downloads, if you will, like that clarity of mind. But what your experience is going to be like, it's going to be very, very dependent on the individual, on what they're coming from. That's why, from our work or the work that I like to do with a person who tells me that they're interested in going down any kind of psychotropic modality, there's a lot of preparatory work. There's a lot of things that I get them encouraged in working on the therapeutic side to get their mind ready for it. We do some timeline work. We do some some personality domain work. We do a lot of work to prepare ourselves so that when you get met with this medicine, like I said, ayahuasca is that long weekend-long battle for a lot of people. If you're not ready for it, it could be a weekend-long battle where you're just left with more questions, which might be a good thing as well too, but more questions and more unresolved issues than resolution to what you came searching for. Preparation is a big part of it, big key.
So who is this? What is this type of therapy? Who's it for?
Yeah, well, so we'll say not specifically so much the therapy. We'll say therapy and the medicine work in great unison with each other. This medicine's for. I wouldn't discriminate against any specific type of person. There's certain people that I would recommend not participating in it, just like when we talked about ketamine, because of predisposing factors and having to being in that altered state of awareness of consciousness. We don't want to provide it to people that have schizophrenic disorders, people that have bipolar personality, especially bipolar 1, where they have those manic episodes. You got to have a very intense safety plans put in place if somebody's even in a 2 type of a state, so they don't have a mania. You want to make sure that it's let's say, like you said, the schizophrenic people. We want to make sure that it's not people that have the bipolar issues. Basically, anybody that has any kind of a predisposed diagnosis where altered states of consciousness can fuel a splinter, a fracture. But when it comes to people who are experiencing trauma, who have experienced trauma, depression, overwhelming anxiety, these are really great medicines, really great sacraments to use to help a person have a different encounter with the elements that are causing those issues. Therapy, we're doing a very cognitive formation with some emotional connection as well too, to these issues, to these elements, and how to help overwhelm them. In this medicine space, it is almost completely this experiential, cathartic type of a process. You're letting it, when you're going in there and you're pretty much asking yourself this formation of an emotional intention. What is it that I'm afraid of letting myself experience? What is it that I'm so afraid of that's preventing me from living my life more present, or that's that I keep carrying all this anxiety for? That type of a question is, I want to feel that thing that has been preventing me from being so present, that thing that has been preventing me from loving my family, that thing that is preventing me from embracing this. I'm asking a very emotional question. Bring to the surface that thing that I've been afraid of experiencing, and let me experience it. Let me engage it. Let it pass over and through me. And once it's gone, I can look at the path in which it's taken, and I can see that only I remain. I kind of ripped a little bit of that from Dune, if you ever read the book Dune, but letting that fear overwhelm you, pass over and through, and I look at the path that it's taken, and I see that only I remain in that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is it combined then with, during this weekend that you do it, is combined with a therapy session or group session, or does everyone just kind of experience it on their own?
Yeah, so that's for the facilities that I let's say support or encourage. They're the ones that have strong integration groups in between the ceremonies. They encourage the participants to do preparatory work before and after, like ongoing integration afterwards. There are places out there that it's like, just show up, just here's the medicine, like let yourself be healed, and there's some people that find resolution in that, for sure, without a doubt. Not trying to knock that at all. But I am personally a strong believer that putting these things in support of each other, because there's a lot of existential, just like awarenesses, revelations people can get. And without the support, we show up at these places with our own problems. We want to get solutions for our own problems. We get all these answers kind of provided to us, but we're still trying to digest and put these answers in place based off of just our own fallacy of self. We have to invite in other people to help us understand how these things work better, how to better apply the things that we're discovering and that we're learning. And so ongoing integration is very important. Integration in between those sessions, of course. Some people might have a hard time in that first journey and having that integration circle and just hearing other people talk about, this is what I was experiencing, this is what I was met with, this is where I had a really hard time. And we work with them on that within this group. And then on the other side of the circle, somebody else, like I also had, I would have never thought to ask that question, but that's what I was feeling too. So when they go to their next session, they're able to, their next ceremony, they're able to bring that with them, and they can find themselves often going a little bit further, going a little bit deeper, having an easier transition going into the medicine space.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what would you say, I mean, is it if you compare it to, I mean, we talked about hypnotherapy as a therapy form too a couple of weeks ago. I mean, what would you say as compared to ketamine? Because that's, since you are
sure
well into that too. What is the, like, is it a deeper, is it a different type of trauma, or is it just a different way of
that's a good question. It's a good question, and it's one of these hard things to kind of explain, but I'm going to do my best to try to do it. So you have this altered state of consciousness that we're going into, right? You take this medicine, and like I said, you got to give yourself permission for the next 4 to 6 hours, that ship setting sail, right? Your mind, just like in the ketamine space, your mind's going to descend down into that theta wave. You're going to experience this thing called micro time dilation. Ingrid could probably attest to this, where like, it's only 4 hours, but when you come back, like in a 4 hour mark, when somebody checks on you, you'll be like, I feel like I was gone for like 100 years or like for 1,000 years, because time really seems to slow down in that space. And you're experiencing things that are coming to the surface in theta wave. It's very, very similar to a dream state, right? So like, I'll put it like this. When I say a sentence to you, right, that sentence might have 5 words, but each one of those words, I can go to the dictionary and I can look into the dictionary and find 1 to 5 paragraphs of meaning for those 5, for each one of those words. So in that 5-word sentence, there's like 5 to 25 paragraphs of meaning that I'm delivering in that 5-word sentence. And you got to understand what it means in the context of our conversation based off of your life experience, how you want to digest it. Our words are just audible hieroglyphics. We're trying to convey meaning because we have agreed that this word means something that we can just agree upon. Like when I say fear, you know what fear means. But the way that I feel when I say that I'm afraid and the way that you feel when you say that you're afraid are still 2 totally different things. We just agreed that this word means fear, right? The rest of your psyche, the depth of that subconscious, it doesn't speak in, grammar syntax or quantum grammar syntax, right? Like that's all learned knowledge. That's all learned behavior up here in the beta wave. When we go down to theta wave, everything you know, everything you've experienced, everything you've encountered with, all the people you've interacted with, your mind's aware of that. It's stored that, but it also remembers the emotions, the emotional awareness that's kind of attached to those things. So when we have these visions, these cognitions, these thoughts coming up to us, like, you might see, for example, you see me, but I'm in your dining room of your house, but your dining room is also like, looks like a jungle. And in that room, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to your grandma and I'm yelling at your grandma, right? In that space, me as the avatar, right? Your mind picked me for some reason. Some reason might be like, how would you define me? What personality would you say that? First glance, like, how would you describe me, right? I might represent those aspects of yourself. Your living room, your house that you're at, that might be some recognition of like, and it's another word inside of that sentence. It might be an awareness of like, your mental wellness or your physical health, right? And like the grass, the forest that's falling all over. Why does my living room look like a jungle, right? There's emotion, there's awareness that comes to the surface and all that. And here's your grandma. Say you love your grandma, right? So you have this warm feeling coming from her. And there's me yelling at your grandma and the feeling that you had of like me yelling at your grandma inside of the space. All of those different characters, it's almost like this metaphorical dance that's coming to the surface. And each one of those characters and those interactions are the words of this sentence, and the emotions that they bring to the surface are the definitions that, just like a regular sentence would have, the definitions of meaning that you're meant to just let yourself experience. Your job in those medicine spaces is don't try to make sense out of a damn thing. Like you're allowing your conscious mind to come to this place of subconscious thought, of like dream thought, just to experience it, just to be aware of it and to accept it. The rest of your mind speaks to this metaphorical, interpretive dance type of like, symmetry, and they're trying to attend to things that they need to attend to. Your mind loves you. It's wanting to heal. It knows what it's needed to heal for a long time, but your ego has been preventing it from attending to certain things. So in that space, it might be like, I see that stairwell, that basement where that horrible thing happened. It's not to make you relive all of that, but all the emotion and everything might be there. So you might feel like you're reliving it, but that's not the point of it. It's to bring that to the surface so that the next interaction, the next cognition or symbol can attend to that hurt. Next thing you know, you feel like, grandma humming the sweet, sweet song as you smell her chicken noodle soup. Like that familial love is the emotional release that's meant to attend to that first statement made by the seeing that terrible, horrible space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but is it still with it, as opposed to ketamine or something else that is also a kind of mind altering or situation altering?
Okay.
What? Who would you prescribe ayahuasca to? Is there a difference in?
Because I was going to ask you. I mean, I think I know the answer, but I wanted to ask so our listeners can get it. Is it's great for trauma. It's great for depression. It's great for addiction. It's great for a whole lot of things. However, you said this earlier. It's not going to say who cannot. You
Sure.
spoke on who cannot take it, but just because you don't have trauma or you don't have depression or you don't have anxiety, it also could benefit someone that is perfectly fine.
Sure. Yeah. No. Good. Yeah. So with ketamine, again, your body gets a chance to go numb, and there's less medication contraindications or complications in there. So like with ketamine, there's less of a problem if you have other medications to be able to practice or participate in ketamine therapy. With ayahuasca, there are going to be certain medications that if you're on, you're going to have to either titrate off of or not take for a while before you do it, especially ones that affect the blood pressure, certain SSRIs, because of the effects that they have on the body and the blood pressure as well too. The difference, like again, you're going to have this space where your body goes numb and your body is really actively involved. A space where it's like quick and it's over a little bit faster, a space where it's much more extensive and intense, I guess you could say. In ayahuasca or in ketamine, when you go to the IV, when the IV starts, like I'm not there normally to talk with you unless the person's having a really, really hard time. We let them finish the session and then we start debriefing afterwards. In ayahuasca, when the person's under the medicine, if they have certain questions, certain issues, certain challenges, they can sit up, we can have a little bit of a dialogue and interaction, and we can like lay the person back and then help them take that back to the mat again as well too. A lot of people would call up and they say that they want to do ayahuasca, and especially if they're completely psychotropic naive, if they have the ability to, I would say that's great. Before we get to that space, I would encourage them even to like, let's go through ketamine therapy first. Like, let's go through the space to do it. Yeah.
You need to graduate to
it. And I think it's very effective. I mean, I've had people that have done ayahuasca camps and they've been on like, 30 journeys and they haven't done the work before. And they're like, I think I've plateaued. I'm like, yeah, I think you have, So like they come over, they come back with us. We do the work. We do like a lot of Jungian work, some shadow work, the preparatory work. Then I'm going to do ketamine therapy. And they'll be like, I got more out of that first ketamine session than I got out of my last, 20 something ayahuasca journeys. But it's because they aligned themselves and prepared themselves and they got it in a different space where they were able to just focus on that hyper-conscious space without the body's involvement. And then after all that, they went back to ayahuasca and they were like, that was like, it unlocked what I needed so that I can go deeper in this space.
Is it something you should do on an ongoing basis, or it's very individual? Some people just need one. And
there was a shaman that I got to work with once, and he put it like the best way that I've ever heard. He said, these medicines, he saw some of the same people coming back to these ceremonies that we were trying to support like over and over again. And he had to work through a translator, and he was telling him, he's like, this medicine, like, why do you keep coming back here? He's like, this medicine, this is like a tool that just like a tool you would use to hang a picture up on the wall. But every once in a while, the wall's bare and you need to hang the picture up. So you take the tool out and use it to put the picture up. But once the picture's up, put the tool away. Like every once in a while, things in life will happen where that picture is going to fall off the wall. Sometimes you have to take it off the wall. Somebody might take it off the wall and you need to hang something else up there again. Then you might need to go back and get that tool and use it to hang up the next thing. But once you've hung up the next thing, put it away. Like these medicines are like, they have this incredible power for like this disassociative, like objective reasoning, that the ego death, right? It's just that giving you the ability for naked observation. There's no longer a me or a you or a mine and theirs. They just are, right? My feelings and my emotions, they're not good nor bad. They're just sensations. And I can let myself experience them all with the same light. You know, it gives me the ability to see things from a different perspective so that I can figure out what I want to do differently, but it's still on the person afterwards. Like you get those neural pathways connected. You realize what you want to have. You have an insight or an awareness as to how you want to do things differently, but it's on you to reprioritize, to attend to your life, to do things differently on the other side. You can't expect to go back and to have everything just be different if you're not going to change anything in your life still.
Yeah. Oh, I like that analogy with the tool.
And you know you love tools.
I love tools.
Yeah. So one thing I can explain, like on my journey with ketamine, and I talked to you a little bit about it, was it had me really be uncomfortable. And because I was always one that nobody really knew what I had gone through unless I told you. And chances are I never told you what happened. So I held on to so much emotion. So my ketamine was very, very hard. It was very difficult. I mean, and I remember talking to you about it. And it's just the emotions I felt were just the ego death. I was like, I think I told Adrian, I was like, I think I died. And I thought I was left there and no one was left, just me. And nobody could hear me, nothing. And I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. Fast forward, I kept on doing my work in ayahuasca. I found a new version of like love and light, and I felt emotions that I had never felt before. I thought of before, but never actually felt it. So that was the kind of the more opening aspect of it. There's two different spaces, and it's I don't want to say they go hand in hand, but they kind of do. It kind of helps out.
There's a similarity. They're different, but there's a similarity.
Yeah. So just being in that moment of like, oh wait, I think you know this. I gave myself a hug during ayahuasca. I'd never given myself a hug. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Ingrid, you're so beautiful. And I was like, did anybody hear me say that? And it was just a sense of things that we forget. And we assume we feel it, or we assume we have to just live a certain way. And our subconscious, conscious, our ego is always saying like, yeah, you're not supposed to be doing that. Like that's not for you to do. And when you're in this space, your self is like, no, you deserve this. You should have this. And it's so enlightening to be like, wait, no, I deserve to be happy. And it's not being cocky, but
it's not selfish.
It's not selfish, you know, with everything, with cultures, with how we grow up and how we think, we do it to our children too. You know, the expectations of what we think they should and shouldn't have. And when you're in this space, all that goes away, and it's like just you. And it's like just you. Like if you were just standing out there, and it just fills your body with like more bliss. And it's like, oh, it's like I am this and I am that, and I'm gonna do this. And it's just.
So afterwards, what are the benefits that you have, I mean, overcome, or things that you've seen afterwards?
So I'll let Adrian answer, but I'm going to answer what I've experienced.
He doesn't know what you've seen.
What
you see.
Well, okay.
Right?
Well, for me, once I felt what I did, I was consciously aware of that. So I knew that if something came up, I remembered the space that I was in during ayahuasca.
And you still do that?
I still do that.
Oh.
There is kind of, there's like a playlist that we have that we hear. There's actually songs that if I play the song and close my eyes, I can, in my mind, put myself in that spot again. So for me, that is healing, because I know that when I'm actually feeling overwhelmed or feeling anxious, it's just that. Like I have control over how I'm going to feel that second. I have control. So like, for instance, things that would get me really anxious before, now I'm like, that's kind of not my problem. Whereas before I used to be like, oh my God, like I'm going to lose my mind. Now I'm like, you know what? That's just not my cup of tea. And like I give my ear high five. I'm like, go Ingrid. I'm like, yeah. Because before, I mean, I was a ball of anxiousness all day, every day, all day long.
That's
So
good. That's good. You know,
like,
there's I go back to that metaphor of like, you know, the sentence and the 5 words with 5 to 25 meanings of definition, right? Like some of the most powerful, beautiful, intense, horrible, scary, and empowering things that we'll ever get to experience exist in this realm that's beyond words. Like we are kind of limited if you think about it and how we understand our experience because we're always trying to put it into some kind of vocabulary, some kind of context. You get a chance to experience, like when Ingrid's talking about, I can hear that music and it helps me get back to that space. Like you experienced something that was an awareness. You know it was real. You were there. You might not have a word to encapsulate, to capture it, but it's an experience, an awareness, a self-affirming type of a space that is so real for you. And in a way, instead of having a word, it's like that music. It just helps me get back to that place, that experience, to have an understanding of that thing that helped me realize, hey, that's not my circus and that's not my monkeys. I don't have to worry about it. Like I can let those things go. You know, so like it's all of those symbols, all of those things that come up in that kind of like dream type of a space. Like that's all it's trying to do, is trying to attend to things that you might not be able to articulate, to verbalize, to capture inside of words and let them work their way out. And even some of your revelations, you'll have things that you're like, you are so sure about, but I can't, there's no words to describe it because this is such a personalized experience. And I know this is the truth now. And and being able to walk away from that, just because I can't find the words to put it together, just because I can't even sometimes explain it to you. Like I know my truth. Like I'm aware of my truth now. I have felt it. It was palatable. I know my truth. So when I leave here, I want to change things in my life. I want to reprioritize things because I want to keep myself connected to this space that I have found. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It sounds pretty cool. But that's what you often see with patients that go through this kind of sense of being able to go back into a state and not worry or not,
I mean,
build up.
I think that's the key. That's like you use it as a tool. So you it's kind of like usually when you take medicine, you take Prozac, Zoloft. That's every day. So you become kind of numb.
Yeah.
And I believe that these medicines allow you to feel, which we're taught not to feel. We're taught like that's not, it is, don't feel that. Like it doesn't matter. You've gone through trauma. Well, here's this, take this.
Yeah.
Whereas the ketamine space and the ayahuasca space allows you to feel and sometimes make you realize that it really wasn't your fault. You don't have to carry all this burden. And if and when you did something, you don't have to hold yourself like crucified for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Even if it was, what are you going to do with it now? Okay, sure. Even if it was your fault, now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. I can see that. So this is obviously not covered by health insurance.
Oh no. This is something. So the practice of these medicines, the practice of these medicines, like there's a lot of places outside the U.S. that do it, but in the U.S., like DMT is still considered a Schedule 1, right? So there's places that have introduced a church model for being able to practice this sacrament, and pretty much it falls underneath the same space where it would be illegal to give alcohol to a minor, right? Like you can't do that. But at a Catholic service, they can give the sacrament. The child can sip on the wine as they're practicing their sacrament. So as these organizations have established recognizing this medicine or these types of medicines as their sacrament, they invite people in to participate in their spiritual practices, recognizing that this is their sacrament. So that's why it's under the church model. These are known as ceremonies. The medicine is known as a sacrament. I do. It's not something that we would write a prescription for or even a referral for. It's like we would let them know that these things are available out there. And when I even support those organizations, I'm nothing more than the paramedic that supports the concert, right? Like I don't put on the concert. I'm not running the concert. I'm just like I am the clinical support for this thing that's happening, so that if they have somebody that's having a hard time, we can provide them psychotherapeutic help.
Okay. Very cool.
And then, do you have any more questions?
Now, would you say that this is something, since, I mean, I had never heard about it, but there's a lot of things I have never heard about. But is it something that you see is on the rise, just like ketamine?
Yes.
Ketamine, you heard more in the news and all that, but
Well, Kristina, that's a great question, because it is on the rise. It has become more and more prevalent in, you know, Western culture as like, you know, thing that's available out there. But in that same space, people that are interested in it need to intelligently explore and look at the places that they're going to. You know, there's places that actually work as an established church that's underneath of a, you know, a church that's, you know, fought their battles up to the Supreme Court and down again, and like have like, you know, that recognizes precedence for providing these services. And there's other places where they're just, they call them underground spaces. You know, if you want to have the right set and setting, you got to find the right place, hopefully one that pairs up with like, you know, the right type of clinicians. There's a lot of great organizations that are out there that are, there's like, you know, actual grant research going on for some of these medicines right now as well too, because they're recognizing how much benefit that they're providing. So finding a way to do it in a recognized facility, a recognized, you know, actually established church organization, a place that's doing it underneath your grant study, like these are the right spaces to go and look for places to do it. You know, if it's, you know, Shaman Billy doing it out in the woods somewhere, like I would recommend that you do not try to participate inside of that.
Oh, Shaman Ingrid is going to start doing it in the garage.
No, I no, I wouldn't. I mean, I think I've told Adrian this when I came out, when I was done that Sunday. I think I saw you that Sunday.
I think, yeah, well, at least we talked. Yeah.
Yes. And I felt like Oprah when she does her show and it's like, you get a car. I was like, you get ayahuasca. You get ayahuasca. I was like, oh my word. I said, and don't get me wrong, I probably depleted my tear ducts and my water ducts that weekend. So I don't think I remember ever crying so much in my life. And probably that's probably why I felt so light. I cried so much. But it was just so awesome that I thought to myself, who do I love enough to take them with me next time? Because it was just an awesome experience. You know, good, bad.
I have not been invited, so I guess.
Good, bad, or indifferent. For the record, I wanted you to know a little more of, because I already talked to Adrian. I already told him. I was like,
she told me she wants you to go. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said it already.
Okay.
So, but I think it's just a place of. That's why I asked the question of, you don't have to have trauma. It's just a place. Yeah. It's like Avatar, what you said. It's like this place that you can just imagine what it would look like to have a purple tree and like really pretty fluffy pink clouds.
There's definitely a lot of work in like there's those psychonauts, they call them, right? They're people that are just like they've learned how to let themselves experience these medicine spaces, and they're attending to it. They're going into these practices because they want to continue to unlock. They don't want their life experience and how the world and their interactions with other people, like they don't want that to be these concrete, you know, almost like binary formations of words telling them how they can experience everything. They want to, like, you know, drop all of that and like be able to see things more open. So there is a space for, like, you know, more awareness, more insight, more existential, kind of like, you know, kicking the peanut around by just letting yourself participate in some of these things, but knowing how to do it. I mean, this is not a miracle cure. There's people that have come out of here and they've been more frustrated, I guess. They have recognized their own impasses with more clarity, and it's almost like now they know what they need to let go of, and they have to really accept if they're willing to do that or not. You know, I've seen people leave here and they're more frustrated because with the awareness of what they have to put down, they don't want to put it down, and they're realizing that they're miserable because they don't want to put down the thing that they now know they have to put down.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So you were already on my list.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Just like that little
FOMO. She had a little FOMO. So where can we find a space that you kind of like? I mean, I know.
Yeah, how do people find places?
Yeah, sure. Like I mentioned,
Ayahuasca.
You can do that. You can do that. Like, I mean, there's spaces that, like, you know, if you have a friend or know anybody that's actually in it, they'll be able to speak to, like, you know, the healthiness of an organization. Like I'm a big fan of different spaces. One particular, Vida Chapel, that's a really great one where they try to do it from almost like a med spa, like a wellness perspective, like whatever your spirituality is, whatever your walk is, bring it in. They're not going to push you through any kind of like, practices or ceremonies before they get started. Like you bring your beliefs into it, they'll provide you the sacrament so that you can use the sacrament to work on your spirituality. And everybody works there from like a clinical kind of perspective. I love places like that. So looking for ones that offer the service without trying to push, their organizational kind of perspectives or beliefs onto you, try to make you practice some kind of like, preparatory ceremonies and stuff like that. Because some people that actually makes it harder for them. They're walking into it with whatever their spiritual faith is from their entire life. And then you say that, you got to stand here for this smoke cleanse or this flower bath or, anoint yourself with this oil. They're like, what are you trying to do here? No, just bring what you believe in. Here is the sacrament and that we recognize have these incredible medicinal properties for you to get stronger in your journey, in your walk.
Love it. And then last question, I think, before we get going, I know that we said the weekend. There is a magic in numbers for the weekend, right? Because it's like a Friday, Saturday, a Sunday, but you do 3 sacraments, correct?
So yeah, that's debated, but sure. I mean, I'm a fan of the three ceremony, like weekend. So some people say like it's almost like the pre-op, the pre-op, the surgery, and then the post-op. I like the 3, and like the ceremony that we talk about, like they do it Friday night, and then you wake up early Saturday morning, and then you have one Saturday evening, and then you spend the night, and then you leave like Sunday during the day, right? I've seen people do it with 2. I am personally more of a fan with the 3, because even if you go to a place that has the 3, and for some reason you just feel like you're ready to stop at 2, you can. But a lot of times that third one is the rehab, the closure, like the you've gone through the hard stuff, you've gone through the beautiful stuff, and now this is like the closure at the end of it all.
So are there any side effects with this? Do you get hungover?
Yeah, you get greatness. I'm just kidding.
From the substance.
Sure. No, unlike ketamine is pretty much metabolized in your body like so fast, like within an hour or 2 afterwards, like it's out of your system. Ayahuasca, you have a window of plasticity that lasts a little bit longer. That's why you finish Saturday night, and then you spend the night, and then Sunday morning they have a big breakfast and like the last closing ceremony. By the time you leave on Sunday, you're good to go. You're ready to go. The hangover effects is more than anything is like you'll be tired from the long weekend. After the ceremony's over, you get your sleep, you wake up that next day, and you don't have any like hangover feelings like drinking or anything to that effect. I mean, Ingrid, speak to your experience on that. Like, did you feel any kind of a hangover feeling when you woke up that Sunday morning after the ceremony?
No, it was just so enlightening. It was so light. Like my hair, everything felt light. My light felt my hair, my light. My hair felt light. It was just so like I had been already exhausted. Like the Friday, Saturday, my body was completely exhausted, but I wasn't tired. I was just kind of like, okay, like this is new. This is light now, kind of like a fresh slate almost.
Yeah. But during the start weekend, they'll ask you to probably stay. Like that's one of the reasons why everybody stays till Sunday, because no matter where you go, there you are. And if you drank the medicine, there you are, still underneath of the psychoactive medicine. So you take the medicine, you finish the ceremonies there, you finish the weekend there, and then by the time you leave, I mean, Ingrid's version of the hangover is feeling light and a blank slate. So
just like a night of drinking, you feel so light and like a blank slate.
Well, no, I remember. Well, after I left that Sunday, I was kind of torn, almost not going. I don't know if you remember, but my daughter's tournament was that, so I felt like really good. So I drove down to her tournament, and it was just I was so like calm and ease, like no worry. I walked into her last game thinking I was there the whole weekend. Everyone's like, "Where were you?" I was like, "Oh, I was away," But it wasn't. It was just so, and I was trying to process a lot of the stuff. I mean, my Saturday ceremony, morning ceremony, I think lasted like 10 hours. I was still, mine was pretty interesting. Let's just say that. I almost fell in my soup bowl. I was still feeling it. I think, Adrian, you caught my head. It was still, it was pretty, like I said, I cried a whole lot. I don't think I've, and I've told you that, but even though I cried a whole lot, I would recommend for anyone that can to do it. So hands down, I will take you, I will drive you, I'll pick you up. It's on there.
Okay. Well, now I know what this is. Very cool.
So now we're gonna share the link for Bella Vida Chapel.
Okay. Awesome.
And then
And also how to get in touch with you, Adrian.
yes, what is
Okay.
the best way? You would prefer?
Yeah, the best way is through the practice that I'm here at, Emerald Medical LLC, down in Vero and Port St. Lucie. So it'd be as simple as you can send us an email at info@emerald-medical, and you can get in contact with us.
Yeah, and we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for coming back with
It was
another
an honor. Yeah.
enlightening subject that Kristina knows nothing about.
Well, now you do.
I'm
Now
excited to see you out there. Yeah.
Now I do. Yeah, definitely curious.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
And
guys.
until next time,
Cheers.
cheers.
All right.